Hey YouTube, Mickomoo here with another episode of Mickomoo Makes. This is my second level, at least on this series. And overall, I think it's my fifth level. But yeah. So without further ado, as I said in the last video, I recorded this roughly around the same time. Audio's cut, so you have me looping the castle editing music while designing the level. Um, with that aside, so this level is about Thwomp elevators. I was really interested in the concept because I thought Thwomps would make great elevators because of their design. I didn't know about Super Mario Brothers. Oh, it's not Super Mario Brothers. It's actually Mario and Luigi Saga. Mario and Luigi Saga, or Mario. I don't remember the game. It's Partners in Time. I don't remember the full title, but I mean I know what Partners in Time is. Never played it, so I didn't know that Thwomp Elevator was a canon item or concept or whatever. If those games are even canon, I don't. No one knows what this series is about. So it's pretty much what I ended up focusing on, sort of designing thwomps as platforms in this level, and the thwomps would be, you know, they would allow for some interesting platforming challenges. No, I don't know why it shows a castle theme. Honestly, the castle theme, I guess, was just I fit with the motif of having thwomps. Thwomps are usually in castles, so I kind of went with that. Then we have a giant thwomp here to introduce you to the concept of using a thwomp to get ahead. Then we have our first platform, which is roughly what this is. Now, I've always struggled with conveyance in Mario Maker, which is why I have an arrow pointing up, even though, I think for most players it should be obvious what you have to do. But I never ever want a player to be in a situation where they don't know what they have to do. Because my first levels were full of just stuff like that, and I, I wouldn't, as a designer, I wouldn't want that to be a hindrance to, getting into my levels. Even though it's obvious, I kind of wanted to just show that you gotta go up. So here I'm laying down the groundwork, testing out the idea, of rolling on thwomps, and we're getting a steady, solid, foundation here. Now, something that emerges from, having thwomps, and emergence it's a word I'm using. I don't know if it's really the right word, but a lot of things happen that you don't anticipate happening. And I guess it's because I was being single-minded, but I think for most people, it might be obvious what I'm about to say. So, thwomps need ground to land on, right? Obviously, thwomps, they hit the ground, they do a ground pound, and they rise up. So if there's no ground, there's no thwomps. And this level revolves around getting thwomps to fall down in the proper places. So some of the thwomps need ground beneath them, and well, who else can walk on ground? Mario can. So the entire concept actually creates another pathway through the level that is, I guess, the antithesis of the concept. So right now you can't really see it because I'm still building the level right now, but it looks like this is going to be another level where you can do a alternate speed run. And again, I didn't really intend that, but it's something that just happens. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think. I think game designers should have intentions for their players. Obviously, like there's a purpose. There's a reason why there's a way the game's meant to be played. But if other things come out of that, then like that's nothing wrong with that. And it's in fact it's kind of cool because it's kind of it's multifaceted. But right here you can see there's two platforms right here, and I think even I got hip to the idea because I think I remember trying to get through the pathway here. Now, mind you, it's much harder to jump from platform to platform, but if you can do it, you basically cut down the time. And Mario Maker incentivizes people to beat levels quickly because there is a world record holding a capability. So, in fact, that's what happened in my last. If you remember the last level of Mickomoo Makes, there are people who were able to beat my bullet train level in like 27 seconds, and I never, I can't do that. Like, there's no way I could do that. So there's all sorts of there's all sorts of things that can emerge, for lack of a better word, out of your game design choices that you have to be can't be aware of things you don't know, but you gotta be mindful of, and you gotta go with the flow too. You gotta be flexible with it. In fact, in the final version of this level, what I end up doing is I embrace the speedrun aspects of this because I sort of anticipate where players might go off the rails. Not so much here in this earlier draft of the level. In part one, there's gonna be a part two of this level. In part one here, it's not really obvious to me what because I'm building a thwomp here, and it's like, no one's gonna use this upper thwomp. But if you provide incentives though, some people might, especially players who are more, I guess, new to the series or who are more cautious. They might take the longer way around, especially if you put like question blocks and stuff. So that's what I end up doing. I create two paths deliberately where, there's some incentives to one side and there's some, I guess, other incentives to another side. So typically the incentives are, items for longer paths and speed or gain time for faster paths that are more difficult. Now this may seem weird. I have a giant thwomp that is literally hitting the ground. I don't know why I keep doing that. Or I do know why. Sorry. I fell in love with this one level, Rumble Ruins. It's a Super Mario Brothers 3 level in Mario Maker somebody made. I think I did a bookmark session on it, but can't remember. Great level, and there's this element of surprise that emerges from the level, and it's really, well, that's not emergent. I shouldn't use that word because that means it's sort of, emergence is like unexpected, but this wasn't unexpected. The developer, the creator of that level, had an element of surprise that was deliberately imbued into, like, he made the level with the intention of that being there. Because most of the platforms were breakable, but it was in a way that was not, like, random. And so you were running through the level, and thwomps would come out of, whatever, break blocks, and it just created this sense of suspense that made the level really, like, fun and surprising and, actiony. And I think that's why I tried to have breakable blocks here. It was a stupid idea, obviously. I kind of tossed it. So a few seconds ago, you saw me playing through the alternate route in my head, where you just saw Mario jumping on the two platforms there while the thwomps were falling towards him. And for some players, maybe the arrow was necessary because some players might actually see the platforms there and go like, oh, like maybe I'm supposed to avoid this giant thwomp in front of me, jump over it, and then jump on these two tiny island platforms near the lava. That honestly would be crazy to me, but I mean, it can be done. I just showed you it could be done. So here I keep trying other, ideas. I don't know what I want from this. I mean, it's kind of silly. But as I said in my my bullet bill episode, I really, I don't plan necessarily ahead of time. And so I have to let my mind kind of go with every inkling or every smidge of an idea I have, because I didn't necessarily test it before. So, but I end up settling on a solid platform because obviously you need to have a solid platform if you're going to have a thwomp that is going to be a platform. It wouldn't be fair to a player to have a thwomp that is designed to fall and die, unless you have an indicator, maybe an arrow that points to the right, so indicating you should leave the thwomp immediately. I don't know. Yeah, the arrow there is sort of unnecessary. Go down if you want to continue level. Now I was going to have to go to the wall. Like, okay. I'm making fun of myself at I guess, my own expense. So now I play with the idea of having a winged thwomp. So in my first level, I played around with thwomps. And if you've seen my first level, the very first enemies you encounter are thwomps. And what I was going for was, I had this one instance in one of my test runs where I had a winged thwomp fly and then connect into a giant thwomp. You're not going to see that in this video, Oh, fun fact, this is the first time I actually end up using sound effects. Like, I absolutely hate sound effects in Mario Maker. I find it kind of childish, and like, but Mario is a childish game, so I'm not trying to be like arrogant. It's just like, for myself, I just didn't like really see the purpose, the point, and I didn't want to be like whimsical and fun. Not that I take Mario Maker like super seriously. It's just that, like, you know, I think what got me is that a lot of creators have the giggling sound effect, and they usually use that over like very obviously troll stuff, like, aha, you're trapped inside, you know, invisible blocks, troll sound effect, ha, laughing, ah. And I think that's what turned me off from sound effects entirely. But there's some, or when people have the aha sound effect with the light coming down and the choir over some really simplistic puzzle solutions, it kind of makes you feel like an idiot, like, oh, good job, like, you found the pipe, haha. Okay, so anyway, sound effects can be useful. Just there, I have the rumbling sound effect, so when a thwomp falls, you can kind of tell. And right now what I'm doing is I'm testing to see if the thwomp will fall. The idea here is that you have a flying thwomp as a platform you're supposed to use. You're supposed to get that thwomp to fall somewhere specifically, and then jump to it. And then, surprise, there's rumbling and another thwomp comes. That was originally the purpose. But the cool thing is, and you'll see this in the next video more prominently, this is actually a secret area, or it becomes a secret area. What you can do, when I land the jump on the thwomp, what you can get happen is that the thwomp up there will fall onto the thwomp here. They'll lock, which is what happened in my first level. This is something I discovered a long time ago. They'll lock together, barring that spring there. I don't know why the spring's there. And when they lock together, you can jump on the giant thwomp and ride it up to the top level. And what I end up doing in the final level, when you play the level, you'll see I have a ton of goodies up there. And it only works if you have the winged thwomp be a platform for the giant thwomp. If the giant thwomp simply falls and the winged thwomp is not anywhere nearby, the giant thwomp goes in the lava and you lose access to the secret area. So here's a case of me deliberately thinking through alternate pathways. And like, not to like toot my own horn, but I think that's pretty good game design. Or pretty clever game design. So originally the trampoline, now that I'm remembering it, the trampoline was designed for, you're supposed to grab it when you go in the thwomp, but that'd be a really hard maneuver to pull off, and it's definitely not in the final level, I know that for a fact. Here I'm still playing around with the idea of what I just described to you, and that was sort of my aha moment. But for this part 1, this is pretty much the biggest breakthrough I had. Yeah, there's really not much else to say. Here's me looking through the level, just seeing what I have, taking inventory. I was still looking for ideas at the time, so I wasn't quite sure what direction I was going to go with the level design. But I did have the aha moment in mind with the winged thwomp being the gateway to go into a secret area. Alright guys, see you guys next time. Make sure to look out for part 2.